Oh, okay, let me admit Mandy too. Remember with the aura talks without you having to do anything. You don't have to speak. You're just being present. You're being, you're breathing. You're alive, you exist. Therefore, you are infinitely valuable to the totality. You have something to offer. And with a generator, they're here to know or see who they are for themselves. So you as a generator waiting to respond in order to know what you have energy for, that's what avoids frustration. Not your mind trying to make a decision in order to avoid the frustration. It's waiting for the response that avoids the frustration. And then when we look at a manifester, the energy type of the manifester, remember, they are here to have an impact. So what they get started, what they might put into others, what they might get into action, and they can inform, putting energy into form to initiate others, and therefore they're going to have peace, not trying to avoid anger by making mental decisions. That's a false strategy. Don't do that. From the projector, to understand and recognize the other, it is about who is the other right in front of you, not who am I and trying to figure out who you are. Nope. The only way you're going to wake up is if you study the other through a system like human design. And when you wait to be recognized and invited, that's what's going to bring success, not trying to make mental decisions in order to avoid bitterness. Don't do that. It doesn't work. Trust me, I know. The reflector, our last type is a review. To understand and be connected to the program. Who am I now? Can I be myself? They wait to be initiated by life and then process their lives over a cyclical time frame, the lunar month, to be surprised. And that is what is avoiding disappointment. So please ensure you're not trying to make mental choices in order to avoid your not self signpost, because that's just going to generate or create more of the same. Okay, that's my reminder from LYD. Now, in channels by type, you're going to see that every single channel has its own life and its own rules, but you have to put it into context with the aura, because if you don't, then you get confused. Okay, so as an example, anybody have a totally white channel in your design? Totally white channel. That particular channel is here to be initiated by life, but it doesn't make you a reflector, right? You have your own energy signature. So Ross says, the moment that there is this possibility for a quantum, the whole that is greater than the sum of its parts, then the whole transcends its part and becomes the phenomenon of what is called the life force. So life force is in the channels. Life force is two gates on either side connecting up through a channel in order to create functions in the body graph. Those centers on either side functioning relative to that channel. And then every single gate activation that's hanging off of that colored in function, that center is going to be functioning relative to its on, and it's controlled by the channel. So that's how it really works. Definition is the life force, definition is the channels. That's why reflectors don't have definition. Their definition is no definition. So just as there are four types, there are four kinds of channels. These are active channels that are manifesting, generating, and projected. And the fourth is inactive and open, like the reflector. So when we look at the channels by type, you could see very clearly what its specific limitation is and how to work with it. A channel is a limitation. It's a specialized area that you bring to the table. So here's an example of somebody who has a 1762 channel of acceptance. Their mind is strictly about logic. If that's the only channel that they have, we know that they're a projector. So this is collective as well as logical. It's opinionated, it's detailed, it's going to have an acceptance of the pattern and can share what that pattern is. So it's projected because we have ajna connected to the throat. This is one of the projected channels. And as such, it has no power. It has no ability to really be seen, valued, appreciated, or recognized for what it is unless it's operating in alignment. When you're not operating in alignment, you don't get the full value of your life force, whatever your type is. So because it is a projected channel, it has to be invited to express itself. That is how we see the limitation of this particular channel and the way that it is intended to work. Again, remember, put it back into context. If this was a generator design, we wouldn't say, wait to be recognized and invited, because recognition is a two-way street. And formally invited, when we talk about a projector strategy, it's about the big things in life, what to do for work, where to go to live, who to love, who to bond with. So it's very different contextually when you're looking at the signature and the auric frequency, okay? The type rules the roost relative to the keynotes that you want to use in a person's design. So here's an example, a different example, a generator channel. That's the 5027 channel of preservation. So preservation is about custodianship in response in order to keep that tribe, their people, safe and be able to survive. So this is a very important part of the defense circuitry. It has to do with the themes of caring and nurturing and preserving tribal law, the values of our tribal relationships, as well as the need to protect the young, educate and raise our young. Not only our babies, but also when you get to business, it does the same thing in order to protect the business itself. So this is a generating channel. It will generate when it responds. So in response can preserve and protect the tribe. Okay, anytime you look at any channels connected up to the sacral center, defined, of course, when there's a channel there, in response can. That's how you start the superhero keynoting, you could say. It's very simple, easy keynoting. When you see a sacral center, say in response can, and then you link whatever that function of these two centers happen to be to the channel itself. Okay, the channel name. Now you start to have some keynotes that you can play with. Okay, so these themes of caring and nurturing, upholding the law, they have to be pulled out of that other person by this person waiting for the, you could say, call, the asking, so that the response can happen. Now, please don't let it seem like somebody has to formally approach and say, down on bended knee, please, can you protect my children? Because this is a generator. And what can happen is generator sees the child about to hit the edge of a glass table, it springs into action. Okay, that's a response. It doesn't have to be formal like with projectors, recognition and invitation, that kind of thing. This generating channel cannot act like a manifesting or a projected channel because it is what it is. So in response can protect the young, nurture. And even when the 5027 goes all the way to the throat with another definition, that still does not make any difference. We still need the response to happen in order to avoid frustration. Okay, if the mind makes the decision, oh, I'm going to care for and nurture and protect that person's young, without being asked and without an energetic response, we're still going to have frustration, because the moment you see definition in the channel, the life force, that is what is showing what this person can do in a very specific way. It's specific to that person's design. Every channel has its own life and its own rules, but please put it into context. Okay, manifesting channels, these are the direct manifesting channels because they have energy to throat. That is the very definition of what manifesting is, energy to throat. Make sure that you have no sacral center defined, and there you have a manifester, either energy to throat directly or indirectly. Okay, that's manifesting as long as there's no energy, life force touching that sacral center. So no sacral, motor connected to the throat, that's a manifester. Right? So these are the pure manifesting channels right here. Next, we can see we have the generating channels. The sacral is defined, therefore we have a generator. But when we have no motor connection up to the throat, we have a pure generator. It's going to be purely emotional, or it's going to be purely generating identity, or it's going to be purely responding to keep the tribe or oneself safe and secure, or it's going to be purely responding to the energy adrenalized, asking from life in response, can respond. Respond ability is the key term you want to use. You can respond. And this is one of the things that they can do. Now, pure generating, no energy connected up to the throat. They could still have mental definition so long as none of those 4 motor functions bring energy up to the throat. But the moment that happens, now we have a manifesting generator. This is a manifested generating channel. Okay, the life force in that channel is in response still. Technically, it's still able to manifest because we have energy, and this is the only place that this sacral energy directly connects up to the throat. But in order to avoid frustration, we still have to have a response, because the sacral energy, the moment that the sacral is lit up, we have a different kind of auric frequency that is open and enveloping, and it's drawing things to it simply through its energetic frequency for it to respond to. So the sacral defined and a motor connected up to the throat, however that happens, that makes a manifesting generator. Now, projected channels, no sacral, no motor connected to the throat, you've got a projector. But in this case, if that was somebody's design, that would never be, there's too many life activations there. But anytime you see no energy in the sacral, but one of these 3 motors connected up indirectly to the throat, then you have manifestation that is secondary to these. These all are direct manifestation. All of these, indirect when they're connected up to the throat. Okay, still projected channels. Now, reflected means no definition. Everybody has a reflected channel, yes? That's important to know. So that is the overview, channels by type. Now we are going to go over these channels through circuitry. I'm just giving you images to look at, and we'll talk more about these in detail when we get to rave cartography. So the manifesting channels: money, openness, and transitoriness, direct manifestation. The underlying theme of these is anger when there is resistance. Resistance shows a signpost of something being off track. Irritation, then anger. Quick to anger, potentially. These channels are designed to manifest and express when they're following strategy and authority. Right now, the numbers might be a little bit too hard to memorize. Try to imagine yourself memorizing this visually. It will help, because once you've got the visuals, then you can go down and look at the details of what's actually there. To remember all the generating channels, all you have to do is look at the sacral center. If it's lit up, boom, you have generation. So that's mating, preservation. We have maturation, mutation, concentration, as well as the rhythm, the beat, and discovery. Then we also have power and exploration. Those are the generating channels. In response, can generate. Okay, so the underlying theme of these generated channels are frustration when they're met with resistance. These channels generate or regenerate energy through response. It should be life-giving, the life force in the design operating in alignment. So then we have a manifested yet generating channel that creates the only pure manifesting generator, channel of charisma, design where thoughts or awareness must become deeds. So the underlying theme of this manifesting generator channel is anger, potential violence, and frustration when met with resistance. The reason for that is because we have very powerful energy here connected up to the throat. Okay. That violence can either be turned outward at the world or turned inward. Both are very damaging to the being. So even though, to be technically correct, we're looking at energy to throat, and in some places people out there in the world will say, well, that's manifesting, that's manifestor. No, it's generative. It's a generative energy. So we still need to operate in response in order for that to be correct as far as satisfying. This channel generates its energy through response and then quick to manifest. Okay, quick to manifest. Now, anything other than those direct manifestation or generation of energy are all going to be projected channels when that is in somebody's design. So we have recognition, moodiness, synthesis, transformation, struggle, judgment. We also have community, and we have surrender. Then we have initiation, and all of those are directly connected up to energy, okay, to energy. Further, what happens is we have perfected form right here, the brain wave, those are non-energy. And then we have awakening, the wavelength, the alpha, inspiration, and prodigal. None of those are directly connected up to energy. Then we have all the mental projected channels: acceptance, structuring, curiosity, abstraction, awareness, and logic. Okay, so from the perspective of these projected channels, all have a power of recognition. Just like all of the sacral energy, generation of energy, have the power of response. And these manifested, direct manifesting channels bring energy into the world of form. Okay, these are all projected. So you see, we have a lot of projected strengths there. The underlying theme of a projected channel is bitterness when met with resistance. What happens is, if there's energy in that channel, it can sometimes show up like resentment when it's not operating in alignment. Bitterness, not just bitterness, but resentment. Okay, so these channels have no power unless they're recognized for what they are. They must be in a projector, recognized and formally invited to the big things in life in order for that projector to know who the other person is in order to create success in the world. It's not about the projector trying to force or manifest. It's about them enabling others to succeed. Now, the reflected channel. Any channel that's open is reflected. The underlying theme of a reflected channel is disappointment. So from the perspective of a review, how's that landing for you? Make sense? Raise hand. All good? If you have a question, feel free to unmute. Welcome to those of you who are joining a little bit late. Aiden.
Look, hey, look, just a quick question. So if, let's say, a generator happens to have a projected channel,
they still need to be asked and respond.
With respect to the energy of that particular channel, right?
With respect to the energy of that particular being, that being needs to be in response. Just because they have a projected channel does not mean they need to sit there and wait for somebody to formally recognize them and be able to recognize the other in return and wait for the invitation to the big things in life. I'm being very specific here because I don't want you guys to get confused and think just because I have a projected channel that now I have to be like a projector. As far as the energy types, the generator works in response. The sacral center operates to create the auric frequency. So it's the response mechanism that's going to tell that person whether or not to engage. Did that help?
Yes.
Because we're looking at a total being. We're not looking at parts and pieces when we're talking about helping that person understand themselves. The response is the key. Now, some people, based on their definition, might need to have some time to integrate their response with, let's say, their mental capabilities, their recognitions of their awareness, their mental awareness, funneling that into the response. So at the moment, let's say we have an emotional generator and they've been asked and they have a response, but they're not really clear yet because one, they're emotional. Two, they've got other definitions that need to be integrated into the being, its awareness. So sometimes response takes some time to get clear on. Does that help?
It does, and I just want to make sure I understand. So, for example, if we had an emotional generator who happened to have the 731 channel of the alpha, with with respect to their serving as as a leader, is it still purely just response, or for that aspect of their leadership, do they need to be recognized first because of the energy of the projected channel?
The energy of the projected channel, because of that channel needing to be elected to leadership, that is something that they're going to still need to be asked about in order for them to know whether or not it's correct for them to lead. So response is the key for making decisions. Please don't get confused by all these other ways of we're looking at component parts and pieces, isolating the information in order to get a good sense of where this stuff is. But the most important thing is strategy. Okay.
Perfect.
Most important thing is strategy. And a generator is a generator. It's not a projector. God, somebody reached out to me on Instagram and said, I'm a manifesting projector. I'm like, who the hell's teaching that? Sorry. Just please make sure that you're looking at the overall frequency of the being first. It's like getting lost in the forest and ignoring the path because you're looking up at the trees. The path is a path. So the path to correctness is always going to be strategy and authority. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, excellent. I'm so glad you asked that because that's exactly what I was trying to get clear. And that really is supportive to have that come up. Okay, new material time. Hopefully this will help you all have fun with major circuit groups and keynotes. It's the most empowering thing I can tell you from this entire course here, the most fun thing to play with. So we have 3 different major circuit groups and their keynotes. This, in order to remember it, especially if you're going to start working with the information, either informally or professionally, I suggest that you take that homework assignment I gave you a couple weeks ago with the body graph image, print out lots of blank body graphs, or better yet, draw it from memory if you can, or look at it and draw it until you can draw it from memory. What you'll do is start to draw, if you can at least draw or recall, maybe looking at the graph and then talking it out, whatever your process is, color it in until you get to memorize this. But this is going to help you so much understand what each of these channels are about from a big picture view, because all of these channels are part of a specific circuit that has an overarching keynote that is really critical to understand. Example, the individual circuit is about empowerment. So individual keynotes, all of them, you could say they rhyme or they link together. They're all about empowerment. Every single one of those channels are about empowerment. Empowerment is a key for that being. Self-empowerment in some cases. Then we have the collective circuit, which is about sharing. And sharing has 2 ways of showing up. It's either going to be experimental or experiential, logic or abstract. So overall, looks like a little paperclip to me. Okay, a paperclip that's holding everything together. And then from the perspective of the individual circuit, to me, it looks like the bones of the body graph. Quite literally, some of that is about bones. So the internal structure, empowerment, we need power in order to be ourselves. Yeah. Collective circuit, we're looking at sharing with the whole world at large. See how there's open on the outside? It's like this is the skin. So in order to share with others, we have this space around us and we can, rub up against somebody else. Oops, sex is over here. The drive for it anyway. And then we have tribal circuitry, which is about support. And support is about holding things together. For those of us who are female, your pelvic floor muscles, I like to think of these kind of like wings of the sacral, where it's holding everything together, holding everything in there. and from the perspective of the internal like guts of the body graph, as far as this is where we're going to make babies and take care of those babies, the internal structure is tribal, and it's about supporting each other. We need to support each other. It's the law here. So from the perspective of each of these different frameworks of understanding, it unlocks so many more keynotes that you can use for any of those channels. That is really, really helpful to know about. Right here is like the most important part of this class I can tell you to start to practice and identify and play with. So let's do them one at a time. The keynote here, empowerment. That is about pulse or mutation. The format of this energy is here and now. It's about the acoustic hearing, either over time or in the moment. The sense is acoustic. The emotional wave, the way that it happens is there's nothing happening until a pulse, a spike up or a spike down. And the main keynote, the overarching keynote you can use with all channels is empowerment. On the flip side, if somebody is in a disempowered state, obviously you can tell where it's coming from by looking at the individuality of that being. It's individual. It's very personal. It's more about having things be new, remember mutative, and unique, different. So mutation is the name of the game here. A lot of these elements are going to have their moodiness or melancholy, even if they're not emotional. So from the perspective of being a kind of sad creature or a sad being, my biggest recommendation is to channel that energy into music. Remember, it's acoustic, or art, poetry, song, dance, romance, whatever the case may be, whatever you have energy for. If you just have to lay there and listen to music, wonderful. Drawing, any kind of creative self-expression helps to move the energy as long as it's correct for you when you're in the mood. Now, collective circuitry, the keynote is about sharing, and its format is either going to be cyclical, and it's going to have a beginning, middle, and end, or it's going to be pattern-oriented, and it's focused and concentrated. They're exactly mirrors of each other in the body graph relative to their frequency. Remember the paperclip one. So the time is either going to be about the past, what happened, or the future, what's going to happen. And the sense is visual. Every single one of those channels are going to be visually stimulated, either the patterns into the future or the cycles of experience that we experienced in the past. The emotional frequency is going to be the long, slow build and then a crash wave. It rises with expectation, and it crashes whether or not you get what you expect. So let go of expectations. The keynote here is sharing for that paperclip, that collective circuitry. And it's either going to go into the future, responding or projecting into the future, or it's going to try to make sense of past experiences. Okay, the visual capabilities of seeing patterns or recognizing where things have gone in order to stimulate new beliefs moving forward into the future. Now, our last circuitry, the tribal circuitry, the keynote of support. Think of it like blood is thicker than water. This is about, people, hierarchies, people being able to be given opportunities through those that they know because they're in aura and we know what they need. Here's an example. If you are a child that has left the home, have you ever noticed that your family members, your mom and dad, support the one that stayed home, maybe stayed close to home? They get more money, they get more, lunches and parties and whatever the case may be, just because you're in person. So think of that, in person. These are very, very sticky, you could say. The energy, as far as format, is none because it doesn't need it relative to timing. This is timeless. Okay, the others were having a kind of time to it, time pressure. So it's timeless here. Just like if you get your cousin killed by somebody, you're never going to forget that ever. If your family member is killed by someone else. That's why there's a lot of fighting in this element of the body graph. Not fighting, you may use a different term. Warring is a better term. Killing. Okay. Sense is tactile, touch and smell. If we touch each other, if we hug each other, if we have sex with each other, we're more likely to have that kind of bond. And if we smell the same, meaning we're eating the same food, we're more likely to have that kind of bond. The emotional frequency of how this shows up, those tribal emotional waves, are going to be like cranking up a car, ratcheting up and ratcheting down. So the main keynote here is support, the support of each other, mutual support, the need for support. So you see a channel in the design that says support, as far as tribal, you know that person needs to be supported and needs to support others. It's about the mutual bargain, okay, from the perspective of how that shows up. Now, the last, integration, as a strength or a channel, this is one unit. You see how it says integration channel? The moment you see all of those activations from a life, planetary life aspect in somebody's design, this is one channel. And the keynote is not just empowerment anymore, it's about self-empowerment, power, the design of an archetype, perfected form, design for survival, awakening, a design of a commitment to higher principles, and charisma, the design where thoughts or awareness or response must become deeds. So integration channel is the backbone of this body graph. It's the original structure of this body graph. So it stands on its own. It's not a circuit, nor is it part of a circuit group, but it is an essential aspect of the infrastructure of the body graph, key core component. Now we have one channel if you have all of those gates, okay? One channel, which is integration. Now, as far as the energy frequency, because it's integrating, if you study further, deeper next semester, we'll look at those, or next class, we'll look at those as far as what it's integrating. And we'll talk deeper about this because this is the most complex area of the body graph to try to understand for a newcomer, or at least it was for me, I remember. The format energy is a pulse, and it's about potential mutation, not always, not always. It's here and now. The sense is acoustic. It's actually quite literally the right ear, hearing in the now. And the integration circuit as a type, circuit, why does it say circuit? It should say channel. Hang on. Integration, channel. That's what very much what I'm trying to get everybody to be very clear on, especially those of you who are in BG5 training. Please note that is one channel, one strength. It would be a splenic manifesting generator. The main keynote is self-empowerment. So from the perspective of the major circuit group, how's that landing so far? We have individual, collective, tribal, and integration. Did that make sense? How'd it land for you? Questions? I don't see any hands raised or chats yet. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at your charts after the break, of course, and check in as a generator. This is the example. When invited and I respond, I can support others through sharing cycles of transformation. So invited is another way of saying asked. Personally, for me, I would say just ask, because when we use the term invited, we're usually reserving that for the projector. But this particular teacher who put together these slides prefers to use the term invited. Yeah, invited for the tribal transformation as an example. And they really need to be practical and have all their details together and know that this is their energetic response to support that person, because that person is part of their tribe and they have the energy to share in that cycle of experience with that other. Okay, so let's talk about specific circuits again, from the sub circuits that create that big picture circuit that we just went over. what you're going to find is that in the individual circuitry, there are two subcircuits. One's the knowing circuit. So every single one of those channels are about knowing. And the other one is centering as a circuit, centering within on oneself. It's not a function of knowing. It's a function of energetic response or recognition. Over here, this knowing is there or it's not. Remember, because we have that off on pulse here, the pulse, the formatting of it's there or it's not. Nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening. Spike, we have a knowing. Oh, and then it's gone. So that's why for some of these, it's very important to follow that response or that knowing in the moment, or it might unpack or unfold over some time. So in the individual circuitry, we have the greatest number of gates, and it has mutative potential. It is creating life. It's generating life through mutation. If we were to rip out all the individual circuitry activations, we wouldn't have humanity. We would die out because we wouldn't mutate. We wouldn't keep up with the times in order to continue to survive and be able to be empowered as ourselves. We wouldn't individuate. Everyone has their own uniqueness. I have yet to see a chart that has absolutely no individual gate activations, at least. Remember, circuitry is created by channels, the life force in the design. Okay, channels connecting up is what creates the circuitry. Mutation is designed to move us in unique, new directions, individually, each of us going our own way, doing our own thing. It happens in the pulse, the now. There is space between the music, the notes of music, and between thoughts. Oh, no, we know, we can try, we can explain, we can be ourselves, or we can inspire through our contributions. We know, not based on facts or experience, but it's out of seemingly nowhere. All of a sudden, boom, some kind of knowing, and then you go relative to that knowing. Knowing can have a mutative effect on you as an individual, or this knowing as well can affect someone else. It can affect someone else by your example, by the inspiration of seeing somebody going their own way, doing their own thing, being different. Oh, they're so different. Inspires you to be able to be the same and love yourself as you are. You don't know, and then suddenly, boom, we know. We have a response. That's a kind of knowing, but that's centering within on oneself. Over here, notice how it's connecting up to all the awareness functions. We know. Over here with the energy, it's a function of response going in a unique direction. Individuality empowers as an example by being an example. Wow, that person's so tenacious. Wow, that person's so moody and yet creative. Wow, that person's so impactful. Wow, that person's so inspiring. Or whatever the case may be. They're hilarious when they tell, inform, express their knowing or their individual explanations or their awareness. Not necessarily are you going to find people here really concerned with others. The only place that happens is when you have a projector, and especially when they have gate activations that are line qualities 4, 5, and 6, because that's more about others. Okay, so from the perspective of these channels, it's more personal relative to your own individual nature. And there's a layer of deafness here, DEAF, deaf, to protect us. I'm right there with you if you have any of these channels, from outside influence. We've got to struggle and go our own way and do our own thing so that we can individuate. And it's not about listening to other people in order for others to tell us what to do. It's marching to the beat of our own drum in order to go wherever it is that we're designed to flow. So the melancholy purpose is for stimulation of the creative muse that lives inside of each of us. Purpose for melancholy is creative expression that's going to empower something new. It's not about being the best. It's about being unique here. So whichever channels you have in this area of individual circuitry is about being different. Individuals, all of us who have one of these channels, we can feel like we're an outsider. We don't belong, we don't fit in, we're born to stand out, and yet something inside of your mind might say, who are you to do that? You know, how can you stand out? You know, no, play it small, be quiet, don't make waves, whatever the case may be. Okay, individuality is about mutation. If we don't have mutation, we don't have evolution, evolvement. Empowerment is not personal. Why is it saying that? Empowerment is not personal. I see. They're talking about self-empowerment, the individual integration strength. There we go. Integration strength is self-empowerment. But empowerment here is about the ability to be empowered as oneself, and then it can empower others as its lived example. That's what I believe that center or that sentence is going on about. So 2 things to remember. Individual circuitry includes knowing and centering. Okay, think of this as the bones of the body graph, I should say, because this is literally the spine. And you'll learn more about that kind of thing as we go into more deeper layers of your studies. Now, knowing is about awareness and structuring and struggle, the brainwave and emoting and openness, its mutation, it's the beat, it's inspiration. If I were to read off those numbers, oftentimes it kind of overwhelms people. When it comes to your practice, always use the channel name and then a design of. So you can use a design of, and then at some point, you start to weave the keynotes and say, well, you might be a really strong thinker. Have you noticed that you love to have these sudden bursts of awareness? Or from the perspective of structuring, have you noticed that you're a little bit of an oddball, off the wall, individual, unique, a freak? If you are about struggling, you might say, have you noticed that you are really stubborn? People maybe try to tell you what to do and you just go your own way, you do your own thing. Oh yeah, people really, complain about that. Because see, what happens with any of these channels is that when you really get that person to see what it is, they'll go, oh yeah, that's me, for the most part, unless it's unconscious. When it's unconscious, people may not tend to be aware, really. So from the next one, we see brainwave, penetrating awareness in the now. And then we have people who are about emoting or being moody. They're like mirrors to being stubborn. Oh, they're in their own funk. Just leave them alone. Don't bother them. They'll come out of it at some point. Openness, a design of a social or antisocial being. When they're in the mood, social butterflies. When not, nope, antisocial. Mutation, energy which fluctuates and initiates, operates in a pulse. It's there or it's not, just like the beat, which is a design of being the keeper of the keys to the kingdom, and inspiration, creative role model. So you're speaking or you're listening to a creative role model that speaks without thinking about what she's going to say. And that can be quite embarrassing. Anything that's unconscious and all of a sudden, boom, it's there. It's like, oh, oops, why is that happening right now? And what are they going to think of me, says the mind. And then you get comfortable with it. Being a freak, being different, knowing or not knowing. It's not always that we know, centering. So centering circuit, when you see that in somebody's body graph, what it will do, it will condition the functioning of any other major circuit, which will bring an individual quality to it. So exploration is a design of following one's own convictions, no matter what, in response. And initiation is a design of needing to be first. The individual need to put oneself first, of course, in relationship to the type, in response in this case. Okay, very, very powerful. You could call it a minor circuit, but it's only because it's 2 channels. It's a major, major effect, not only in an individual, but also in groups of people. So centering within on oneself, see the higher self right there, is about exploration and responding to the exploration of convictions in order to be first. First in following one's convictions, in response, the willful determination to be oneself. Never let anybody else tell you who to be. Be yourself. Yeah, that's what it speaks to. So the 3410 needs to respond to following their convictions. 5125 needs to be initiated or invited to use their competitive willpower. There's a need to be first, and the person needs to be self-focused. Remember the hierarchy of type. Okay, hierarchy of type relative to strategy. And then you'll never again try to make it too complicated for people. It needs to be simplified, okay? In response, you see a sacral center. Okay, the collective circuit, the keynote is sharing, and we're looking at future and past. There's the paperclip, the way that I see it. If you've ever worked in an office, you know those giant ones that hold like stacks and stacks of paper. Okay, it's about either the past, those things that go through the emotional center on, there's a little flip here, so don't forget this little crossover here in the sacral. It's a crossover here in the sacral as well as the ajna. Okay, but most of it is over on this side, emotional. It operates in waves. So the past and the future patterns, okay, the patterns of the future, what's to come. The splenic center has an ability to sense into the future, like a precognitive gift. Okay, future to keep us safe, past to make sense of what happens so we don't repeat the same mistakes. And we're focused on patterns that will take us securely into the future. Look at the face of the body graph, facing future. That's why I hate it when people change the body graph. No, face, future, right here, future, okay? All of those are about the future, except for the little crossover that you see there. Now, making sense of the past is going to be a cyclical thing. We can't make it sudden. It's always going to have a process, okay? All of those channels, collective, stores the reference in the present as we look forward to codify the past. We have to be able to anticipate the future, these projections of the patterns into the future in order to lead that reflects on the past in order to remember. There are all kinds of ways you can string together those keynotes. But it's about, Rob would say, there's nothing new under the sun in the collective, but they're insatiably trying to improve. Yeah, insatiable judgment to correct and align the patterns, or imagining maybe a new experience in order to have a different experience. So taking the new and potentially making it quote unquote better relative to improvement. It's going to prove or disprove through either experience or logic as far as the pattern of what's being processed. So there's a social obligation. Hi, anybody else have one of these social obligation channels? I've got to share this. I've got to put it out on social media. Sharing is the keynote for the collective. So sharing what you remember or believe or experience or feel, or sharing what you identify or think or want to influence others with. There's this share where you're going or share where you've come from, going, okay? From the perspective of sharing, it's about progress, crisis, criticism, skills, your desires, your past, your discoveries, your doubts, your confusion, your answers, all of those gate activations there. Through the channels, the life force in the channels, in alignment with strategy and authority, then we share, okay? Every single gate and channel in this circuit group is social. It's social, it's sharing. It's impersonal. I don't want to share with you specifically. I just want to share with the world. I want to shout it from the rooftops, okay? Impersonal, okay? Impersonal quality to the collective circuit group. And the collective is about the betterment of the whole. How do we improve life so that humanity can all get along, so that we can all be in flow, so that we can all have the growth experiences and focus on what could be improved, that process. The individual as oneself, if you have an individual channel, a very strong individual design, you can feel oppressed by the way the keeping up with the Joneses work, the collective processes are, or here's our rules as an example. Having both collective and individual definition can be an eternal conflict. So mine is a good example. We'll look at that in your charts. Personality-wise, collective, share. Body-wise, individual. No, very different. Okay, so your process is going to be your own. Understanding and logic, future, and sensing and abstract, past, but all of it is about sharing. Okay, so when you look at the collective circuit, we see understanding, which is logic, and sensing, which is past. Logical patterns, see facing future, look towards the future based on the patterns, and the sensing of the abstract looks towards the past, that's the back of the head, sensing what that tells you about where we have come from once you've processed and you've digested and you have shared, because that's the end of the story. It's about the sharing. Therefore, where do we go from here? Again, in response, if you're a generator, through recognition and invitation, if you're a projector, through your intention, your informing in order to have your impact manifested. So the understanding brings logic, which is a design of mental ease mixed with doubt. Acceptance, a design of an organizational being. Judgment is a design of insatiability. The wavelength, a design of talent. Concentration, a design of determination. Focused. Rhythm, a design of being in the flow. And the alpha. For good or bad, it's a design of leadership. Now, if you look at this, watch what happens if we just put the other side. See how it's like a flip-flop mirror? All you got to do is cut the body graph in half, butterfly it open, and now you've got the rest of the sensing circuit. That was logic, future. Sensing is past, abstraction. Up here is a design of mental activity mixed and with clarity, mental activity and clarity. Curiosity, design of a searcher, seeker. We have recognition, which is a design of focused energy, and transitoriness, the design of a jack of all trades. Maturation, which is a design of balanced and cyclical development. The discovery, which is where you succeed, where others fail. Prodigal is a design of a witness. Now, all of these can be its flip side as well. Okay, all of these can show up in the total opposite. It depends on that person's design. So what if you are somebody with a channel of discovery, a design of failing where others succeed? That can happen. So remember, you're getting the overarching keynotes, and those are going to be the empowering way they show up, the empowering way that they show up, the general way that they show up. Now notice how the heart and the splenic center aren't included. So it's not about this, sensing circuit is not about patterns for survival. This is about life experience in cycles to have maturity in one's life. In our life experience, we can look back and we can reflect on what happened in order to make sense of it, in order to share, in order to, here's where the buck stops with me. I'm sharing what I remember so that you don't make the same mistake, or I'm sharing what I believe. Remember is here, or believe is here. I believe so that you too can learn from the gleaning of my experiential process, not just my own. Because again, remember, abstract, sensing, experiential, collective, taking everybody's experience and then sharing it as well, not just your own. Of course, all in alignment. Okay, tribal, and then we'll take a break. The tribal circuit, about support, think super glue, think really stuck to you. Because, yeah, like a baby is stuck to her mother's breast while we raise that baby. Here, tribal is about us sticking together. Okay, this is about we, royal we have to, we must, we should, we stick together because we support each other. The voice is possessive here. And you're supporting me because you're mine. I own you. You're my child, you're my wife, you're my husband, that kind of thing. Or I'm supporting you because I'm yours, Let me prove my love to you by me delivering on the promise to you in our marriage contract and that kind of thing. It's the most personal of the circuits. It is about smell and touch, tactile. So those of you who have this in your design, you might find that you're those huggy people, touchy people, or no, don't touch me. Remember, it can go both ways. Yeah, only friends can touch me. Dealing with people up close and personal. If you are smelling them, you are personal, you are in person. Okay, so if you don't like the way somebody smells, maybe they're not for you. Take that into account if that's part of your authoritative process. The tribe is material. The stream of capitalism is here. The money is here. The tribe is about working in order to support the tribe. Love working, love supporting the tribe. If I support you, then you'll support me. So this fair and balanced bargain or the negotiation of contracts, however it is that shows up for you, when you nurture and support a family, you'll do anything for that family. Well, if it's correct for you, of course. Some people, I'm out of here. I'm not tribal, not raising a family with you. Goodbye. Loyalty is about sticking together, glue, sticking together and supporting each other. It's the bedrock of human society and how life is structured and maintained. So in order to make more babies, this is reproduction and communal protection and nourishment of offspring. That's the primal law here. Blood inheritance, like family resources being handed down to the next generation or marrying into money, that kind of thing is here. Tribal people tend to look and smell and dress the same, buy similar cars or in areas where they all live in that same community. They are about individual sacrifice for the family. So working hard in order to deliver on the promise of what family life can bring. And we're about making more money, more people in order to survive. Family and immediate community are important to these people in the tribal life. Now that includes the ego circuitry. Here's a subcircuit, defense circuit as well. This supports the tribe materially with resources, including money and resources, the needs of the tribe. Now here, the defense circuit, like wings of the sacral, it makes more and it cares for what we've made, whether that be babies or business. Make more and care for, protect what we've created. See, creativity in the generative term. So the ego circuit, we see 4 projected strengths channels and 1 ring to rule them all within the tribe as far as the person who is large and in charge, designed to be the voice of that tribe or the figurehead, the ruler. So the whole process of taking care of communities so that we can have the material way, it's the root of our mystical way as well. We're driven to transform so that we can transmit to the community, taking care of the needs for the family so that we can have more material wealth, i.e. money, right there. Now, defense is about making babies and taking care of them and or taking care of the enterprise that was created by whoever created that business. So transformation is a design of being driven. Surrender is the design of a transmitter. Synthesis is the design of being sensitive, and community is a design of being apart, seeking the whole. Money, design of a materialist. That right there stands on its own. It has no equal in the body graph. You learn more about that in deeper layers of the studies. And then defense. We have our mating, a design focused on reproduction or being productive, making more babies, humans, or creating new enterprise business. channel of preservation is a design of custodianship. So we also have the last and not least, I forgot. Let me see what our time is. We're only 105, we're good. Integration channel, self-empowerment, power, design of an archetype, perfected form, design for survival, awakening, design of a commitment to higher principles, and charisma, a design where thoughts must become deeds. We did cover that already. So integration, again, stands on its own. It's not a circuit or part of a circuit group. Think of it like a backbone, an essential and critical ingredient of the infrastructure of the body graph, okay? So integration brings splenic awareness to fight or flight mechanism, awareness here and now, physical survival here and now, self-care and self-love here and now, your individual ability to survive. If somebody was out there trying to survive on their own in the woods, I would imagine that they would be successful and satisfied doing such with this kind of design. It does belong to the pulse format, the individual, because it's overlaid on top of that area of individuality that is about no. And now we can have our break. Enjoy your break. In 5 minutes, I'll have the charts open and we'll start to work with charts. Okay, see you in a few. Okay, I am back and I'm going to show you a super cool trick. How do you cheat using software? Very easy. All you got to do is look over here at Maya Mechanics. And when you're logged in and looking at somebody's chart, you just look over here to the right-hand side and see how it says circuitry. We see empowerment, sharing, and support. Okay, empowerment, sharing, and support. So it gets you most of the way there. Now, as far as abstract and logic, that one you're going to have to remember. But if you're ever searching, what do I have? What does this chart have? Just look over here. Empowerment, sharing, and support for Ada. And then we see for Karina, we have empowerment, sharing, and support, all three. Dante, empowerment, sharing, and support. See how common that is. Larry, empowerment and sharing, not support. Aiden, we see empowerment, empowerment. Mandy, we have sharing and support. And then myself, sharing and individuality, empowerment. And then Natalie, we have sharing and support. So that just at least helps you identify before you have a chance to memorize anything. It helps you identify. And then further, when you start to work deeper with people's charts, you'll be able to put more language to it, like being able to see, okay, I remember that this is about direction. I remember that this is about expression. I remember that energy to the throat creates a manifester when there's no sacral energy resource defined. So then I know that this person's impact has a lot to do with what she's here for. And that impact is about sharing. Okay, sharing. So does anybody have questions about your chart? Do you want to play with it before we move into more information? I'm curious how that landed with you.
Laveena, this is Larry.
Hi, Larry.
I guess when I look at my chart and I
Mhm.
see there's very little channels, right? Like and the
Three.
channels that I have are, some of them are unconscious or unconscious gates. So when I look at that, it doesn't intuitively make sense to know if I'm like collective, or I think I'm collective, but I don't know that.
Collective is about sharing. So that's the word that we're trying to link to the fact that you are collective. Sharing is collective. Sharing is, let's see, what can I use as in something that's really going to help? It's coming up for me. Have you ever shared your opinions and have it just not be accepted by someone?
Sure.
Okay. Is that something that causes you any kind of bitterness?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you
if
are
it's
here to
something I'm
be,
really passionate about, yes.
oh, yeah, there you go. Your awareness can be incredibly certain, and maybe you're passionate about whatever it is that you're sharing your thought process. But because you're open here, okay, open at the opinions gate, then what happens is if you're sharing your opinions to somebody, thou shalt not cast thine pearls before swine. If you're sharing your opinion to somebody who hasn't invited you and you don't have a lighting up of your recognition capacity for that person, they're not receptive to it. Ouch, fall flat on your face. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get bitter.
So sharing. Okay. Collective, logical sharing from your experience. You're here to develop wisdom about when to share your opinions because they're not yours, really. You're learning wisdom about the collective opinions of the world. This is one of the ways that you're receptive. Somebody else is coming in, they've got a 17, you're taking in their opinions and you're together coming to an awareness and acceptance of this pattern that you see.
Now, if somebody has that 17 defined, does that tend to, because I'm thinking of one person in particular that I tend to lose my power to, that has, they defined 17.
Do they have the whole channel?
No.
Okay.
They've only got the 17.
Okay.
So maybe that's a personal thing where I just have given my power away.
Potentially. There's other things that happen in that body graph between you and the other. So it's not only that, but
Okay.
from the perspective of it being defined, these are defined. These are functional. Okay. So they have, is there Ajna green or white?
Green.
Okay. So
Yeah.
they have very strong opinions.
Yes.
And you guys together may not see eye to
Yes.
eye relative to logic, right?
Correct.
Okay. So that's not only just that little construct of what's happening between you and them, but it's also what else is going on in the entire chart.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
that will help you remember that when we have they're called electromagnetics. Okay. Electromagnetics. It's like an attraction and repulsion, because I don't like your opinion. I like your opinion. I don't like your opinion. It doesn't have to always be seeing eye to eye. Okay.
Okay. And if that individual has a, say, an individual circuit instead of the collective, is that another area of potential like friction too? Because they're just seeing things from another angle.
Point of view. Yeah. Yeah. From the perspective of everybody's got their own individual knowing.
Sure.
My knowing is not your knowing. And, sometimes we have challenges in relational dynamics with the communication process. I didn't sleep well enough last night. I think I'm speaking clearly, but I'm clearly not because you're not seeing the way I'm supposed to, get it across to you, and all kinds of challenges, not just the mechanical stuff.
Okay. Beautiful.
Helpful?
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. How's that land for anybody else want to play with a chart or a question?
Laveena, I had a quick question.
Yeah.
For example, in the integration channel, the 5720, how would you know that that's the integration channel versus it's also in the individual circuit?
It's not. Notice, do you see 5720 here anywhere?
No, but the lines are colored in.
Yes, but it's not part of integration. Only these are part of integration.
Oh.
See, that's the one. It's tricky. We're going to play more with that in cartography, because we're going to go over all of them in depth and detail. But take a look at where am I going? That's integration, and individual is, where's this? Here it is. See? 5720. Okay.
Okay, I think I was tricked.
5720.
I guess it was because of a connection with another center. And same with the 3410 probably. The 3410 is not part of the integration, but it is part of the individual. Is that right?
It's part of centering. It's part of individual. Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Got it? Good question. I'm glad you brought that up. Good eye. Yeah. Excellent.
Hi, Laveena.
Hi, Dante.
How are you?
I'm good.
My question is similar.
Okay.
In regard to the ego circuit and the centering circuit, it's very selfish.
Selfish, as in
self-important, meaning
self-important. Yeah, self-involved.
Yes.
Centering within on one self, as a generator, yourself is the most important thing. That's what you're here for. Who am I for myself? Not you, me. Now, you might be friendly to that person or you might be mean, but it's about you in response with your clarity that's going to bring up the right behavior relative to what's correct for you.
My question, I'm sorry, I got excited. My question is, if you have aspects of a circuit, but not the totality of the entire circuit, for example, the centering and the ego, I know that it's going up to the throat, but how do you decipher which one it is if you have aspects? Okay,
so it's the channel. The channel is the life force. The channel in the design is what creates the energy. So you do not have centering as a circuit. Otherwise, you'd have in your design, to be technically correct, you'd have the 34 and the 51. But that means then that you're open to others where you can create centering as a circuit. Okay, so that's where you're receptive. It's very rare for somebody to have an entire circuit, but the channels are the life force, and that is what creates the circuit energy. You've got a channel there, you have the energy. Okay, so this is not centering then. You have an aspect of integration. Does that help?
Yes, and then also I have the defense circuit.
You have an aspect of the defense circuit, yes.
Oh, because it's not on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Got it? Okay. Anyone else? Y'all good? We'll continue on if you don't mind, because there's another aspect to this that will help. It will help. I know it's a lot from the perspective of trying to memorize in the moment. Don't, some of us are strategic and we can work with it right away. Some of us need to ponder, process, repeat, listen again, play with charts. It's all an unfolding. You'll have a repeat of this information when we get to cartography, because we're going to dive deeper into each of the channels then. Okay, so actually, let me just skip ahead to our awareness streams now. Awareness streams are what happen when energy moves through an awareness function and reaches the throat. Okay, so streams of awareness, pressure moving through awareness to the communication, or the mechanic of expression. It's a mechanism of will here at 26 and 40. Okay, streams of pressure, energy to expression. So every stream, this is going to be part of your homework assignment. I'd love for you to check out, is if you have aspects of this stream, and this is optional. If you can't figure it out, don't worry. But if you can, as far as looking at the handout, the screen, the images, and then taking that and looking at you with your favorite person to talk to. If you have aspects like a channel with inside of any of these awareness streams, like with Larry, your chart we were just talking about, where there's a 17, you're going to always be attracted to that 17 because that person completes the awareness stream. Doesn't necessarily mean they're right for you. You always have to follow your decision-making strategy. But from the perspective of your place within the totality of existence, all of our circuits show us the function of what the purpose is for those channels within our reality. This is a map that is mechanical, and it doesn't play favorites. It's just what's there connected with what's out there. Okay, what you have relative to your consistencies, connected to what you're open to in response to life by being invited by life and recognized, or being informed by life, you informing life that this is your impact. So a circuit represents the complete process. It's very rare for somebody to have even the sub circuits, the smaller circuits, the defense and centering. Those aren't like all the way around every day, but they are there. So circuit is a complete process, the result of combining all the gates and channels that we were looking at in those images. From the perspective of completing something with others, you can also see the streams of awareness. And that's why it's kind of fun to have you have that as an experiment, playing with that by seeing who is it that you really love to talk to, and do you create a stream together? Because again, awareness is a process. So when we combine all the channels, not just separate gates, gates themselves can create an illusion on the piece of paper that we have definition, but definition, to be technically correct, is when there is a channel that was imprinted in you from birth. Okay, that's life force. The life force is in the channels, and the flow of energy or movement through the circuit is what is going to create awareness streams. Sometimes people have a whole awareness stream. It's more rare, just like having a whole, it's not uncommon, but it's just not super common. We'll go and look and you'll see. Streams, energetic streams, are pathways that combine multiple channels. It's always going to be two channels, from pressure through awareness to expression through the circuits, okay, within the awareness field. So it's always going to be same circuitry, those two channels linking up together, the energy to awareness to expression. So when we look at specific streams, you're going to be able to identify different qualities of awareness that lay along a circuit path. Okay, the circuit path, we're still working with the same information, but now we're isolating it down to very, very specific places. This is where there is fuel, pressure, one's mental, one's physical stress, mental stress, pressure. All streams always need to begin with a fuel, okay? Fuel, the energy or the pressure. Now, next we have potential, the potential for awareness there at the awareness function that it's connected up to. Now I'm going to repeat from Living Your Design. These 3 awareness functions, centers, actually have 3 different kinds of awareness that pop up. This one pop up literally now. It's now that we have the splenic happening. Okay, now as an awareness frequency. Here and now in this body, I exist. There isn't anything other than now. I have no proof of anything other than now. This is now. Okay, so now we have the potential awareness. Up here, this mental awareness, it actually operates over all time because it can go into the future, it can go into the past, or it could happen right now. So the awareness frequency of the potential before it gets processed by the ajna is there, right? Those are black gates, okay? Then the emotional system is always going to be dominated by its motor function. It has energy and a developing awareness. So it cycles or processes things through a wave pattern, either the jacking up and ratchet and fall, or the pulse of now, here and now, up or down, where nothing's happening, and then pulse, spike. Okay, or we have the emotional system that goes long, slow, build, and then a crash. So it operates through a wave. Okay, the potential awareness operates through a wave pattern, an energetic wave pattern. So those are potential. Next, after the energy has gone through the awareness function, now we have the possibility of the awareness, but not the expression yet. We have the possibility of that awareness either now or future, pattern-oriented future, past, cyclical-oriented, or now, pulse of knowing in the now. Okay, over here, same thing. It's going through a wave pattern. However it is that that person is processing that awareness. Possibility reaches the expression of awareness right there. That's where we have the end of the stream. Now, each one of those streams has a specific energy to it, pattern, orientation, process. It depends on what the circuitry was that we just covered. So you actually already know this. I'm just helping you isolate it down into parts and pieces as far as the frequency of what that circuitry is about. Same thing. We're still looking at circuitry. Now we're just looking at 2 channels that create, as an example, pressure, possible awareness or potential awareness, then possible expression, and then the expression. Okay, within one of these streams, energetic streams, if you have considerable aspects there, but you're missing one of them relative to you're open to that, that's my homework assignment for you, is go look at your charts of people that you really love talking to and see if any of the awareness happens within the 2 of you and what's it about. Because what I'm wanting you to do is link what I'm teaching you to real life experience. That's the only way you're going to remember this stuff. If you don't practice and play with it, it's not going to stick. Okay. So to fuel the movement and direction of a stream, we have to have pressure, a pressure center. Then the movement through the stream is focused on finding a way to express itself or complete the process that that awareness either promises or provides as part of the progress or the experience. So the completing of the process requires not only possibility in green, but also the potential of expression, they're yellow, built into the process that creates streams. So here's the image remodeled. Ra created this description, and that's just a new updated look to it. I love fields of awareness. I think they're so fascinating. So here's an example. The fuel from 54, the gate of ambition, meets the potential awareness in the 32, the gate of continuity. Then we have the possibility of expression through the 44, gate of alertness. And the expression trait or gate is the 26, the egoist. And that creates a full stream. When you have the channel of surrender as well as the channel of transformation, it's one stream. Okay, one stream within that person's beingness. Then you see there is a genetic need to transmit and to support transformation. That is that person's nature. And then when there's two of you connecting up and creating a stream together, like myself and my daughter have this 4130 and this 3635. Together, there is this energetic recognition of feelings and the expression of the energy. When that little girl, she's about to turn 17, has an emotional wave, boy, can I feel it and recognize it. And she's crying, I'm crying, I feel it in my body, you know, when there's an emotional wave expression there. So it's a really fascinating exercise in the experiential process of what it's like to feel what this system transmits to you cognitively, as far as a recognition capacity, your awareness of what's going on between you and another and how the dynamic of it functions. You know, I'm a projector. I'm always talking about me and the other. For those of you who are generative, remember, you first. Yeah, you first, your process first, and it should serve you well, this information. So let's see, that was the flow of the stream of instinct. So to keynote that, we might say the instinctive awareness to survive that leads to the expression of capitalism, money. Now, money might not be important to that person, but it's a critical core aspect of being able to make money there because of where it's headed, just because of that particular aspect of the body graph. So 32, potential for the awareness of the other person's ambition, or within an individual, it's transformation, a design of being driven. And then we add the 4426, surrender, the design of a transmitter. That would be one particular stream. So let's look at these individually. Look down at your body graph while we're doing this so that we can discuss after we look through these. You're going to find that there are two logical streams within the collective circuitry. Again, the way to recognize where logic is look to what's the future. See the body graph, the face, right there. It says, I think. Thinking is a process of projecting into the future. This is what I think. This is where the pattern's going relative to the awareness of what's happening. So here we have channel of logic starting us off because we need pressure, channel of logic. There's a crossover in the ajna, and then we have acceptance. So this is the awareness stream of understanding, ajna, as an awareness stream of accepting the pattern, the logic to accept this opinion over that opinion, because that's an aspect of your interfacing with others, Larry. Then we look at, as an example down here, the awareness stream of taste. It's a splenic stream. So we bring judgment, collective judgment, insatiable judgment, and the wavelength, which brings us the awareness of being able to find what's tasteful in life through the patterns, the recognition of the patterns, the identification of the patterns, the ability to improve life. Okay, so one of the things that we can do here with the collective. Collective is about sharing. So once we've completed a process, at the end, expression happens. So that's another interesting thing to happen is like, okay, who's the one expressing constantly? Look at your chart, look at others' charts. Where are the expression gates? Always in the throat. But with the awareness now, you're looking at specific streams. So that's my recognition of what to play with. Here again is an example. We're looking in more detail at the mental logical stream. Logic and acceptance creates understanding. Logic processed with acceptance of the patterns creates understanding, and it's always future oriented. Okay, look at the expression here, future oriented. So pressure from the head, inspiration, points us towards the ajna, a conceptualization center or process. Logic is a design of mental ease mixed with doubt. And then we have the mental pressure of doubt to inspire formulas, 4 is the gate of formalization, to figure out why there's doubt or why there's no need for doubt. Okay, resolving doubts. Then we have this crossover to the ajna, over to the 1762, where opinions, a design of an organizational being, closes off that conceptualization process by turning the formula into opinion that can be shared in detail, okay, logically through the I think voice. So we start with doubt. The pressure of that doubt drives the need for some kind of answer, formula. And then that answer leads to a logical opinion and finally has the potential for expression at the throat center through that gate 62. That then expresses the details as a fact. Just the facts, ma'am. The dry facts. Give me the facts, please. Okay? So there's an example there. When you look at the knowing streams, again, there's going to be a splenic as well as an ajna. And over here, we're going to have the emotional system because remember, knowing individuality is larger. So we have 3 here instead of just the 2. We have the channel of awareness and the channel of structuring, creating knowing, expressed knowing, knowing in the now. Remember, individuality, knowing is always about here and now. From the perspective of the awareness stream of intuition, it's a splenic stream. So again, now, channel of the brainwave and the channel of struggle merging together create intuition expressed. Okay, the gate of intuition is 57. Penetrating awareness in the now, channel of the brainwave. Channel of struggle, stubborn. Yeah, stubborn. This is about the individual knowing that is expressed here and now. So when you have awareness, this is going to be mental awareness. This is going to be physical body awareness, adrenalized awareness, very different than mental awareness. Mental awareness has no power. Mental awareness is just for communication. Down here, we have energy up to throat, action, potentially, spontaneously, here and now. Okay, so intuition, struggle, brainwave, now. Emoting is a different story because now we're looking at awareness through a wave. Remember the wave of nothing happening, nothing happening, nothing happening, spike, up or down. Okay, so from the perspective of emoting, that's why we have no truth in the now, because somebody gives that person some information. This is manifested if this was somebody's design. And that person needs to process. See the solar plexus center, emotional intelligence, as a processing authority. It has to go through its process. And here and now, there's no truth in the now over in the emotional system. So remember, the emotional system dominates as far as its awareness frequency is motorized. So that's always going to be the authority in somebody's chart. And there's no truth in the now. We have to wait for clarity. What the heck is clarity? Clarity is when there's no nervousness. We now know because we've had time to process our emotional waves through emoting, being moody, through openness, being social or not. So from the perspective of the awareness stream of emoting, okay, passion, moodiness, expression of I know I can try, or I'm not in the mood to try. Over here, it's I am. Over here, it's I know, okay? So these are three different knowing streams, each of them with their own individual process that can be in a human being, or it can be a relational dynamic with the other. Yeah. Now we have the last of the stream that is non-tribal. Tribal is next. Abstract. So to marry that, remember, mirror of the logic. Abstract is about the past. So looking over your shoulder, see the way that he's looking towards the future? That's future. Remember the crossover in the Ashna? We have abstraction first, then curiosity. The awareness stream of sensing is about the past experience. Oh, that makes sense to me, you might hear this person say. Okay, I believe this to be true. Okay, we don't have facts and figures here. We have stories. We have storytelling, curiosity, abstraction, making sense of what happened. Okay, what happened in the past. Now, this particular awareness stream over here, feeling, is still about the past. But how do we build new experiences? First, we imagine maybe taking something that we've already experienced and fashioning it into a desire for a new experience. These are insatiable people. Hi, insatiably driven to have new experiences. Channel of recognition. Okay, a design of focused energy. Channel of transitoriness gives us the transitoriness of feelings and experiences. That's why this person is a jack of all trades. They're talented at a lot of different things. So the awareness stream of feeling is always going to be touched with the drive towards new and improved experiences, different than experiments looking into the future. Okay, this is energized, so it's more powerful as a stream of awareness. It's dominated by its motor functioning, which is this long, slow build and a crash. If you're having trouble remembering this particular difference between where's the collective abstract and where's the collective logic, I'll tell you, gate 36, Ra would say the gate of fucking. Okay, just to help you remember this particular stream, this is penetrating into the depth of a new experience. New experience, go deep, and then off we go on to a different experience. So these are the people who want to have new experiences. Same old is boring. Gate of boredom up here. Okay, emotional drive to experience something new, hunger, longing to be desirous of some new experience. Okay, hopefully that triggered some awareness there, maybe some remembrance. The past. Remember when you had sex and that long, slow build of the orgasm fell? That's that one. Okay, ego streams within the tribal circuitry. We have sensitivity, which is about touch. See how they're mirrors of each other? Sensitivity is about touch synthesis, a design of being sensitive, channel of community, a design of a part seeking the whole. On the flip side, we have the awareness stream of instinct. Instincts are now. Instincts are powerful here because we have two power functions, two energy functions. Instinct, channel of transformation, meeting the channel of surrender, that stream of instinctive awareness, alertness to the conditions for material success, okay? Material success as a genetic need in that person. That smell, the smell of success. You ever love the smell of success? 44, the smell of money. Somebody smells good. Oh, to you, maybe you can work together with that person in order to achieve more money on the material plane. Okay, so touch, think about hugging, community, hugging. Over here, think money, materialism, capitalism. It's cold over here, the splenic center. Now we're not. Over here, potentially warm because we have the emotional system that takes time, right? Emotional system takes time, jaggedy up and down. We're looking at the ratchet wave. Yeah, the ratcheting up and down wave. Something gets under your skin, get a little triggered, and then it goes away. something gets under your skin, and then all of a sudden, snap. You ever have a parent, a parent, I did, who had this? Youch! That one can be kind of explosive. Okay, so now we're going to look at them as a review, then we'll go to charts. Ajna awareness streams operate over all time. One is about the past, one is about now, and one is about the future. How you remember which one's which, the ajna has a crossover in the logic. Just like the eyes and the brain has that crossover. Same thing up here, where we can see logic crossover, acceptance creates understanding, abstraction crossover, curiosity creates sensing. Awareness stream of knowing is the channel of awareness married to structuring in a person's body graph that creates knowing. Okay. That can also happen between people, two people. Splenic awareness streams now, where we have judgment and the wavelength creating taste. That's collective sharing. We have awareness stream of intuition, which is now an empowerment, struggle, and brainwave. Now, empowerment. We have the awareness stream of instinct, transformation, and surrender creates instinct. Here and now, all of those. Right now, as an awareness process in an individual. Oh, lightning fast. Yeah, potentially. Potentially to express the mechanic or the expression of that entire awareness stream. Then we look at emotional, the solar plexus awareness streams, where we have the channel of emoting and the channel of openness. Same keynote, emoting here. Okay, emoting. Hearing over time. This is also hearing, but over time, because the emotional system is dominated by its emotional wave. Awareness stream of feeling is recognition and transitoriness. That one is about collective sharing, abstract, so the experiential process. And then we have sensitivity. Synthesis and community creates sensitivity, the awareness stream of sensitivity. Touch is really important for these people. Touch, the process of being a part of something greater than oneself, because tribe is like that. Collective, part of the whole world. Individual, myself, me, myself, and I. Now, from the relational standpoint in an individual, you look at that and you go, gosh, that's one moody person. Glad I didn't swear there. That would have been a bad one. So from the perspective of here and now, no truth, even though that spike here, check this out. This one, the emotional waves in your definitive book of human design, that helps with the process of seeing the frequency of those channels. Here's the spike wave, the pulse, individual. They are about passion. That's emoting. Tribal synthesis, pressure up and pressure down, up and down. Sensitivity, sensitive to touch, sensitive to feelings potentially, other people's feelings, because it's tribal. Remember, tribe is about being potentially very social, depends. This one's really social. The community or antisocial, depends on their design. Abstract, long, slow build, and then a crash. Think orgasms. I don't mind being embarrassed. It'll help you remember. We have a long, slow build and then a crash. Okay. And then you're just like, oh, it's over. Well, let's do it again. Long, slow build and then a crash. All right. That was our awareness streams. Let's go play with charts again. If you feel like it, if you're in the mood. I have no idea. Oh, 10 minutes at least, what time it was. But how is that landing for you? Anybody want to play with charts?
I'll definitely volunteer if there are no others, but I went earlier too, so.
Well, we can just now see the flow right there. You see?
Yep.
I'm glad you have the ability to say, hey, because otherwise it would be a very silent class. All right. So that's your homework is check in with the 17. Now, if there's anybody else in your life that has a 17, you might just compare and contrast, notice the difference. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then also yours too, you have this entire channel right here. So 4323s are very common in the world since it's an opposition in the wheel. So you might just kind of compare other people in your life, those people who have that, and how it's different. The conversations are different than the ones that you have with the logical people. Okay. All right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Knowing, are those conversations empowering for you or not?
Depends which one. Yeah, if I'm like my partner is has a 4323 defined.
Perfect.
Yeah, my ex has the 17 hanging, and that is more difficult conversations there.
There you go. Right.
But is that because sorry, I get a little confused.
Logic. This is logic.
Yep. Okay.
And this is individual. And this is abstract.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So this experimenting with listening for keynotes is, for a projector especially with an other, is one of the most helpful things I can tell you that lit up my recognition capacity. It might be helpful for you too. Let me see here.
Okay.
If we go, I've got to turn on the abstract, the advanced. There we go. Okay, yes, that's a good strategy for you to experiment with, okay?
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming to class today. All right, who's next? You know what I'll do? Let me just, because it's easy for me, I identify. And if it's right for you, you can go look at people. So I'll just label some things. This is going to be the more challenging, longer one. You can see with Ada, we can see she's got that channel up there. So 1762, what's it like with that person versus 6124, what's it like with the 4323 person? And then you have this down here. So what's it like with that 5720 person? You have this one right here. So what's it like with the 1949 person? 4130, what's it like with that 3635 person? Now that's a lot of people to compare. So maybe you find some that actually have multiple ones of those, and what's the conversation like, you know? Usually what I find is that people will recognize something from the experience. Like, oh yeah, I really do love hanging out with that person, because then it feels like we can really get into a groove conversation that's very logical or very abstract or very, inspiring or inspired. Dante, you have yourself unmuted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm curious if you have a question.
Not necessarily a question per se, but the circuits that resonate with me the loudest is the tribal circuit.
Okay.
Because my group of friends, my select group of friends, they call me the reluctant king, because I'm pretty much like the glue that I don't want to be, but I am that nucleus of that group. And I didn't understand it at first, but all my friends have the 54.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. See, great recognition there. So that's one of your circuitry frequencies, right? Support, because you have that channel, as well as you have aspects. And so now looking at your friends, with that person, I will support them. They're part of my tribe, or I can support them, I should say, can in response. Yeah.
Yep. And they actually finish out that circuit. They have the 44 and the 21.
Perfect. Great example there. That's a stream. Here's a stream of awareness. And then further up, we have the entire stream of capitalism if we continue on.
Okay, stream of awareness. Two. It's the 2 and 1.
Yeah. It's a continuous flow. The same thing happens over here. We've got, this is about sensitivity. And then further up, you learn this in another class. This is about awakening, the mystical way. So they're kind of like mirrors to each other, kind of. All right. So yeah, That would be, I'm glad you had that recognition. Nice one. And then there's another place I can see a couple different ways you could do this, but because of your emotionality, 4136 is. See any of those in your life?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. And
But
then
that's just to share with the collective, is it not?
share the experience. Mm-hmm. It's not support, it's sharing the experience. Just like these up here, sharing. And this is about making sense of what happened. Because the mind, it's all Maya. It's all illusion.
All Maya.
The mind. Yeah. So this one's going to go into the past and this one's going to go into the future. So those are the next ones. Oftentimes it's really attractive, meaning the relational dynamic between the other. It's really attractive when we have activations that are going to get turned on by the other that turn on a function, a center, create the functioning of that center. So everybody's looking for conditioning. We can't escape it. Conditioning is simply relational dynamic between you and the other or life. And that's where life happens. Life in the openness is where we learn, where we're experiencing what it's like to be ourselves is always our strengths, our channels, the life force, how we make decisions. But where our mind gets lodged into the experience is wherever there's openness there. That's where the mind goes and tries to learn about life there. We cannot make mental decisions. That's the reason why, because the mind gets lodged in all of the openness. It doesn't matter where it's in. So now we're just like taking another step and seeing why you're attracted to certain people that have aspects within the streams.
I have one question though.
Mm-hmm.
Since I don't have any pressure or don't resonate with pressure, I know that you need that fuel to make transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you then, in your interactions with the other,
Mm-hmm.
do you not be pressured but still receive pressure?
So you're here to be receptive and incredibly wise about pressure. Totally open on both sides means that in a past life, you mastered all of the specific ways that pressure shows up. You're not specifically learning anything in this life about a specific kind of pressure. You're open to the wide totality about how pressure can show up. So it's your PhD life, meaning the life experience, your process of being yourself in response with emotional clarity. You are going to be able to take advantage of the pressure when it's correct or let go of the pressure. Like imagine being an open window when it comes to pressure. It can just go right through you. Oh, that's not mine to deal with. You start to feel all anxious and hopped up, like adrenalized with somebody, and you look over and they're like racing around. You can either choose to succumb to that by using a mental, oh, they're busy. Oh, I've got to do that too. I've got to prove myself and my mind. Or you can take a deep breath and come back to, is this response satisfying to me to be in emotional, relational context with that person? Do I feel called? Just recognizing how that's showing up in your body. Your physical body getting nervous, not for you. Your physical body getting anxious, feels unhealthy, not for you. No response, avoid the pressure. Unless there's a fire and that person's rushing around trying to get out, right? You know how to take advantage of pressure. Oh shit, adrenalize. We're danger, survival. Okay, gotta move. So you're using always first, last, middle, always. You're processing as far as your response ability, your authoritative process. Now, if there's a need to move because you're under risk of dying, you have the power to move. You do. It's just the amplification of the adrenalization of your body. So it can be very uncomfortable to deal with that kind of pressure because when it's totally open, you have this exacerbation of the pressure, either severely amplified where you get into shock and you can't move, right? Or You're going to hurry around really fast, faster than anybody else, faster, 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 because you're amplifying that pressure. You can't necessarily control it from your mind, but you can recognize the signposts of your body doing something, just like that freeze. Have you ever frozen as a kid and not been able to move? Do you remember that?
No, I'm a fighter.
You're a fighter. Okay. So from the perspective of
either run or we're
flight.
about to, yeah.
Okay, so you're fight or flight. Okay, so from the perspective of the wisdom potential, then when it's dangerous and it's time to move, you can move. You've got energy. Yeah. But in the aftermath, have you ever come into danger where you're almost about to die? You're like, oh, and then the laughter to get rid of it, or you got the shakes, or whatever the case may be. You had to off gas some of that adrenaline, because the adrenaline is pumped into our system and we've got to let it go. So that's one of the things that you're learning about too, is the extremes. Always with a totally open, we have the extremes as a potential, but no pressure of your own. Wise about pressure from life in response as yourself. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So Aiden, I see you're unmuted.
Yes, please. I'd love to go next.
Okay. Where would you look for somebody? Because you have almost the entire stream.
For the 61?
Yep, you got it. That's the one. Secondary up there, where would you look?
Let's see. The 57, perhaps? Is that individual?
57. Yes, you can look there, but I was looking up there because you have two more that creates a full stream of sensing. There's your hint. Sensing is about the past.
So that would be 47.
And
the 11.
There you go. That's your next person to look for. Okay, so 61, this up here. Now, it may be more attractive to connect up with a 57 and a 38 because you're going through open centers. So it's going to be interesting because up here, you've already got your own thing going on that's defined. So the energy has somewhere to go. You'll be really interested in that one. Now, you can also be very interested in those two. But as far as the streams are concerned, to get a differentiation of what it's like to be connected up to somebody who brings that energy in, look for the 61 first. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you look on the emotional side, there are two gate activations that make you more sensitive. That person in your life is going to make you more touchy or sensitive. Which two gates in a stream?
Would that be the 37 and the 19?
Yep, you got it. Bingo. Okay, so you can look at that person and see what it's like to have a conversation with them or be in interaction with them. There's
what about
two
sorry,
more.
go ahead.
There's two more in the splenic center that are logical. Which gates would that be?
Let's see. Logical.
Facing future.
Future. From the splenic center.
Besides you have your individual, what are the other two gates that are quote unquote missing or you're open and receptive to?
So it would be the 16 and the 58?
Yep, you got them. That's another person you could go look at if you find them. Okay.
And then what about the 51 and the 26 that connect to the ego center? I guess the 30.
Not an awareness stream here, but is here. Okay. But you don't have the drive down here. So yes, that would be interesting, but you'd have that other person in order for you to have the experience. The thing I'm wanting everybody to find is who are you going to have that experience of the entire stream with so that you can self-recognize. What is it like for you? Okay, so this one would be harder for you to find. It's not going to be as interesting as maybe somebody who lights up this stuff here in a stream. Potentially, you can learn about that from them, but there's not as much of you in it. See, these are aspects of you. So you've got two aspects of you that I'm wanting you to, hey, check it out. What's it like? Is it logical? Is it about survival? Is it about the future? Is it about making life better? Is there correct bitching? Hi, me and my husband. You wouldn't believe how much I bitch about the world. We bitch about the world. because it's insatiable judgment. This is the kind of real life experience I want to have.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So we are a little bit over, but we took a break. So I'll continue with looking at charts until somebody else unmutes. Karina, you see she has 2 down here as part of the stream. So either 5720, which might be way more interesting because we already have an aspect of self here, learning, looking for the 5720. And then there's also potential for having a conversation with a 4816. And that's it for streams. Now, that's not to say that 11s and 4s and 24s won't be interesting. It's just that within the stream context. Yeah, interesting aspects. Dante, we did. Larry, we did. Aiden, we did. Mandy, I don't know if Peter did this with you guys, but what I would see from you is, oh, I wonder. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, Peter didn't do this with us, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I like it. I think it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you see relative to your mental awareness?
Finding, well, the abstract,
Uh-huh.
and then also the logical.
Yeah. A lot of you in there.
Yeah. And I realized, like my current partner has the 47 and the 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the 1762. So we do take that direction frequently.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What I find is that it brings confidence to your learning and empowerment when you can see the attraction field and recognize the value of the language that is used there. That's why I do this. And for you, I would see the 38 and the 20 as potentially interesting. Do you have anybody in your life like that?
I was just trying to figure that out. The 20, the 20 is where I'm coming up short. So,
oh, okay. Haven't found a 20 yet. Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. But just for the experience, also having a stream of capitalism, you might really like that 44 and 5432, but we have nothing down here attracting you. When you have a personal aspect, it might be very interesting to have that connective field or not. Remember, there's always a repulsion as a potential as well.
My business partner and I
And
have
even
almost the whole capitalism stream. So,
oh, good. Yeah, there you go. Make that money.
Yes.
Part of your process. Awesome. Do you have any questions or anything you want to share?
There's, I guess I have when I was thinking about this, there's, my ex has the 6124, the 4323, and, he could always he always had a way of taking these really abstract ideas and like coming up with something to talk about. And of course he would know everything about it. And then he would just have a way of just discussing it. And I see it so clearly within that framing there. And it's interesting because I have the 43 and there would always be this, of course I was, is it compromised? Is that what the, yeah. So that explains a lot of our struggle there. And it's just really interesting, especially the individual. We were going through the circuitry today and he has a lot of individual and I have a lot of tribal. So
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then to see that through the circuitry or through the streams, that was really interesting too. I was going through the charts as we were working through it.
Yeah. Perfect. Wonderful. I'm so glad you have that experience. So if people are not your thing for everybody, when it comes to a homework assignment, here's the one that is a little bit easier to do or not, depends on you. From the perspective of looking at your charts, my advice at this point would be to look at your charts again and split apart the chart and notice what happens. So as an example, if I look at Mandy's chart and the view is personality, so looking at red and black again, we can see the tribal nature of her awareness. And then the design only, it's open. So what I'm doing is I'm using your charts as another example to process what circuitry means in your own body graph. So if I go personality only, we see openness, and the design, individual. So the body is individual. Larry, if I split apart the chart, I know it's just going to be open, open. Dante is an interesting case where we have the personality only, aspect of integration. And then when we look at the design only, we have tribal and collective abstract and individual. So then we know we have empowerment and the sharing of the experience and support and needing to be supported in return from the body side. So when you think about a design, a person, a human being, their personality is all they consciously identify with. And the design is actually dominant relative to it's running the show, or it's way more heavily weighted is another way you could say that. The design is the life. Your body is the life. So when you have a heavily defined unconscious like this, the mind can go, why am I like that? Or other people say, you're really like that. And you're like, I don't know what you mean. And that's the thing that happens when you're not self-aware. But when you watch yourself over the deconditioning process and you continue to use your strategy and authority, you respond to life, you slow down instead of hurry, wait, be patient, wait for clarity. What happens is you find your form running the show, and your mind is just a witness to that movie, that show. So you may not necessarily be able to know what's happening, but after it's happening or happened, you can feel it. I can feel it. With my experience, I'll share from experience. I can feel when I'm inspired. I may not know what's going to come out of my mouth, but I can feel this lighting up and this power, this energy, this juice, this vitality, and my emotions can get excited. But sometimes, there's this energy that's there that is not anything to do with my mind. And when you have a design like that, now you can get a sense for what that experience is like. You'll get familiar with the feeling of your empowerment rather than knowing your disempowerment feeling. So as an example, Laveena, before human design, I might have mentioned last week, could not talk in a group, lump in the throat, about to cry every time I was had to speak in front of people, So it's a very different story. It's interesting to watch as you decondition and grow. Karina, you can see here, let's do this one. It's a very interesting personality there. Okay, open, 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 open. And then if we look at the design, so just processing this for you in your own time, the design, the body is the life. We can look and see that there's a very strong definition in the body itself. And what is that like? Besides just the awareness streams. Awareness streams help us to integrate experientially what it's like to be ourselves in relational contexts, especially to others, when you have aspects, strong aspects of that awareness stream. So here, as an example with Ida, we can see, conscious personality, very strongly defined. Some people only have like one strength, but she's got 3 channels. And then the design, individual, okay? So when we have a very clear cut, it's very easy to see on mine. So I'll go back to my chart. Clear cut definition split off. It's there's one aspect that is personality, consciousness focused, and the other aspect, it's the body. The body is the life, the running the show. I don't know if you know, but I know. And I feel like that's enough. I don't want to overwhelm you. Last call for any questions from anybody, especially I haven't heard from yet. If you need me, please let me know. Okay. Well, I'm waiting to see if there's any need. Next week, we are going to go over line qualities. So if you didn't get a chance to read about streams and circuits, please do get a chance to do that. And if you're ready and in preparation for the following week, you can start to read about line qualities. So I'm not sure where it's at, actually, as far as my homework assignment for you in the book. It might not be in here. So Next week, I'm also going to explain to you your keynoting exercise or how to go about keynoting. So we'll play more with charts. We're going to talk about line qualities. And then after we're done with that piece, you're ready to start your practice. And your practice, for those of you who signed up for this live with me, if I worked with your charts, you know, it was your first time or you paid for the audit, then you're going to be able to, if you want to, work with Natalie, sending her your keynoting either through written. She prefers audio so she can hear you. So a little recorded piece. And then she can meet with you, or you can just, she might send you something back if it's something that inspires her to do so, if she feels correct to do so. So that's the a new change that we're making in the foundations in order to get you into the practice of making little snippets of recorded keynoting. And I'll take you through that next week on how to go about that. Okay, so don't feel like you're, don't feel worried or pressured. We'll walk you through step by step. And if you need further support, we have our Wednesday classes that are study groups that are still going until I think mid or maybe even late December, so that you are supported in your experiential process of getting your questions answered, catching up if you missed anything, and also the interactivity of learning with others in a group, which I definitely do enjoy. And if you're here, so do you. So thank you to everybody who's here. Those of you who are just observing, thank you too. Feel free to reach out if you need anything. And until next week, bye for now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll send you a message if I can find where those pages are in your ABCs. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.